Quick disclaimer, information in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended to be treated as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare team before making changes to your diet, lifestyle, supplementation, or medication.
Intuitive eating may sound a bit woo-woo, but it's actually a scientifically validated approach that can naturally improve your diet and nutrition, lead to natural weight loss, improve your blood sugar and health, and help you create a sustainable way of eating that supports your health without feeling exhausting.
Welcome to Type 2 Diabetes Talk, the place where we chat about what really works to treat type 2 diabetes and prediabetes naturally with nutrition and lifestyle. If you're looking to optimize blood sugar and A1C, lose weight, reduce medications, and improve your overall health, this is the place to be. Now, here's your host, Type 2 Diabetes Nutrition Specialist, Dr. Jetta.
Hello, wonderful people, and thanks for joining me for episode 71, which is all about the topic of intuitive eating. I wanted to include this topic right now as we're currently running our 4-week weight loss kickstart program with a group of our members, and one of the components of the plan is not to count carbs and calories during the program, but to try to eat intuitively. Now, I know the idea of not counting carbs, not counting calories, or not counting any macros may seem counterintuitive to many people. After all, don't we need to count something to know what we're eating? The answer to that is no. And in the long term, fixating and obsessing over counting things is not helpful. It's a laborious process, it's not natural, and in many ways it can be detrimental for several reasons. We know that dieting has limited long-term success, often leading to weight regain. We know that fixating on counting can increase food preoccupation, a mindset of deprivation and labelling foods as forbidden or bad foods. It can lead to a wide array of emotions, guilt being one common one, self-hatred and self-punishment being others. Dieting can also lead to a roller coaster of eating patterns, to binge eating and weight recycling or yo-yo dieting where there's loss and a gain, a loss and a gain, a loss and a gain. That's not a place any person wants to find themselves, and yet it's so common for many people. While we may benefit from losing some weight, when we fixate only on weight instead of our overall health and well-being, it's never going to be a satisfying road to travel down, often leading to frustration and disappointment. The same can be said when it comes to improving blood sugar. If you only fixate on blood sugar instead of on improving your overall health and well-being, it's never going to be a satisfying road to travel down. Alternatively, taking a different perspective can make it an opportunity to improve your nutrition and make choices that look after your health the best you can. So, being we are at the beginning of our 4-week weight loss Kickstarter program, I wanted to discuss the topic of intuitive eating in detail so our members in the program can benefit. But also I think this is a highly relevant topic that is beneficial to everyone. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is intuitive eating and why does it matter for diabetes? At its core, intuitive eating is a self-care framework that shifts the focus from strict food rules to tuning into your body's natural signals, hunger, fullness, and satisfaction. So instead of micromanaging things like calories, carbs, or macros and fixating on that laborious and monotonous task of counting this and counting that, which can be exhausting, intuitive eating is about developing a more natural, balanced relationship with food. While intuitive eating might sound a bit woo-woo, it's a scientifically validated concept that was first introduced in the mid-90s, and since then it's gained traction as an evidence-based approach with more than 100 studies that have proven its benefits for improving both physical and mental well-being. But let's clear up a common misconception right away. Intuitive eating isn't about eating whatever you want, whenever you want. Of course, that wouldn't be beneficial to any of us. It's about learning to trust your body's cues and making choices that feel good physically, mentally, and emotionally, making choices that support your overall health and well-being. Intuitive eating is built upon the principles of honouring your hunger and fullness, making peace with food, reducing sensitivity to emotions and thoughts during food intake, coping with your emotions in other ways than food, and respecting your body and valuing your overall health and well-being. When we really think about these things, we can tune into ourselves and our body and what we need, what our body needs, with compassion and understanding. Because the thing is, you don't have to eat perfectly to be healthy. Yes, for all of us, there are foods that are better for us that support our health. And making the choice to focus on quality nutrition is about respecting our bodies and honouring our overall health and well-being. But again, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. It's what you consistently eat over time that matters most. Consistently making progress forward. Consistency is more important than perfection. So we really need to shift our mindset and the way we approach things away from that dieting mentality and toward taking the best care of ourselves. When it comes to the science behind intuitive eating, as mentioned, there have been numerous, over 100 studies. And while intuitive eating has been studied for various things and conditions, how does it actually impact blood sugar control and overall health for people with diabetes? Let's go over a few study findings so you can see that research shows there are only positive outcomes to be experienced by you. One study in adults living with type 2 diabetes found that people with higher levels of intuitive eating had lower body mass index, smaller waist circumference, and healthier triglyceride levels compared to those with lower levels of intuitive eating. This suggests that eating in response to internal cues, not external rules, may naturally lead to healthier body composition and metabolic markers, which is really great. Another study, a systematic review and meta-analysis, examined the effects of intuitive eating interventions, and participants reported better body image, improved relationship with food, and lower psychological distress around eating. And this tells us that not only does intuitive eating help physiologically, but it also helps people feel more in control of their eating patterns, something that can be incredibly valuable for long-term diabetes management. Another study specifically looking at intuitive eating effects on glycemic control in people with type 2 diabetes found that intuitive eating had an 89% lower chance of having poor blood sugar and A1C levels, or in other words, those who made food choices based on intuitive eating, based on internal body cues rather than those external rules, whether they be dieting rules or whatever, had a significantly better chance of maintaining stable blood sugar and A1C levels. So this is a big deal because it suggests that intuitive eating isn't just about weight. Of course, it may have a direct impact on how well your body regulates blood sugar. There are lots of studies on intuitive eating, and what we can take away from this is that intuitive eating isn't just a mindset shift. Yes, that is certainly a large component of it, but it has measurable effects on health outcomes. It's linked to better metabolic markers, improved triglycerides, and even better blood sugar control. And it's a sustainable alternative to rigid dieting, allowing for long-term sustainable improvements in both physical, mental, and emotional health and well-being. Or should I say, in all of those aspects.
With Dr. Jetta's VIP online membership, you'll have proven, practical support to lower blood sugar, weight, and medication. Access detailed guides to understand exactly what to eat. Explore the huge members library. Browse thousands of easy, diabetes-friendly recipes. Use the health log to track your progress and improve your numbers. And join monthly member check-ins for personal feedback and trusted support whenever you need it. Join as a VIP member today. Visit type2diabetestalk.com/programs.
By now you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but does intuitive eating really work for everyone? What if I just end up eating whatever I want and my weight or my blood sugar goes haywire? I get it. When you've been told for years to count every carb and follow strict food rules, the idea of listening to your body instead of doing those things, it can feel like a risky thing. So let's break down some of the biggest concerns and misconceptions about intuitive eating, especially when it comes to diabetes. So one common concern is people ask, if I eat intuitively, won't I just eat junk food? I can understand this is one of the biggest fears people have, because the assumption is that if we stop restricting certain foods, we'll just binge on unhealthy choices. But research and real-world experience suggests otherwise, and here's why. When foods are labelled as off limits, they often become more tempting. This is a really psychological thing that happens to all of us, and this is called the restriction binge cycle. The more we restrict, the more we crave. And I'm sure you've probably experienced that yourself. So intuitive eating removes this restriction, and over time, it helps you make food choices based on how foods actually make you feel, not based on guilt or impulse. So studies show that when people practice intuitive eating, they naturally gravitate toward more nutrient-dense foods, not just processed food options. It is important to emphasise that intuitive eating isn't about eating whatever you want, whenever you want. Certainly, having guidelines to follow that are focused on helping you improve your blood sugar and health is important. But the point is that when you shift from making yourself meet all these high expectations and applying all these strict external rules that have probably dominated your life for decades, you shift from that to internal wisdom and mindfulness, so you're tuning into yourself and your body, well, then you actually are making choices for yourself, and that's very empowering. You won't want to binge on unhealthy choices, as you'll want to respect and honour your body. So no, you're not just going to just go and eat all the junk food, because you understand you have a choice and you want to choose the best things for yourself. Another high concern is, what if I can't trust my hunger cues because of diabetes? And this is a good concern, because with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, hunger cues can sometimes feel unreliable. So hunger in diabetes often stems from imbalanced blood sugar levels, and from that, a range of hormones can be out of balance, such as leptin, ghrelin, insulin, GLP-1 and cortisol, all of which play crucial roles in regulating hunger, appetite, and your feeling of fullness and satisfaction. But here's the thing. Hunger signals can be retrained and brought back into balance. The key to this is understanding that certain foods can intensify cravings and disrupt hormone balance, and making the choice to avoid or limit these foods to prevent the roller coaster of hunger signals and support better control of your appetite is important. By making a choice to focus on nutrient-dense foods instead, you start to feel and experience that your hunger is kept at bay for longer periods, that you feel better, have more energy, your blood sugar is more stable, and you just feel better overall. So intuitive eating doesn't mean ignoring your body, it means learning to listen to your body again. And for many people, they've lost the ability to do that. The third concern is, does this mean I can just ignore carbs? No, it doesn't. Intuitive eating doesn't mean throwing nutrition out the window. Carbohydrates are an important nutrient for blood sugar control. This is about making carb choices that work for your body to support optimal blood sugar control, and to make food choices overall that work for your body to support optimal blood sugar control and optimal health. But intuitive eating takes that fixation away. It simplifies things. instead of counting every gram of food, every grams of carbs, you use our food list and guidelines to understand which foods are high in carbs and which foods support optimal blood sugar control. Then most of the time, you choose the foods that support optimal blood sugar control. The reality is, counting the exact number of carbs you eat is often not necessary because you can learn to eat intuitively. You can also pay attention to factors like your energy levels, hunger, and your blood sugar responses after different meals. If certain carbs or foods spike your blood sugar, and you notice that when you're monitoring, you can adjust, not because a diet plan tells you to, but because your body gives you that direct feedback. No doubt many of us have spent years following strict diet rules, so shifting to intuitive eating can feel uncomfortable at first, and that's okay, it's a process. Just like achieving better health is a process. The important thing is to keep moving forward with positive steps each day. And if you are taking our 4-week weight loss kickstart program, use the members chat forum to check in with us every day for accountability, to share your progress and to get support when you need it. So before we dive into a few more practical tips to put intuitive eating into practice, let's hear a testimonial from one of our members.
Sandra said, "I learned I don't have to live in fear of diabetes, but can take my power back and be proactive about it. I'm feeling very upbeat and positive about my eating habits being modified and changed without feeling deprived or like a victim."
Now that we understand broadly what intuitive eating is and we've covered some of the common concerns, you've no doubt picked up on numerous insights into intuitive eating, but let's get even more practical. How do you use this intuitive eating approach to manage blood sugar, support weight loss, and improve your overall health? Well, as we've tried to emphasize throughout the episode, intuitive eating isn't about eating whatever you want, whenever you want. And it's not just about eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. It's about developing a long-term sustainable way of eating that supports you and your body's needs. We actually talk about this a lot throughout various podcast episodes and how focusing on nutrition, having understanding and knowledge about diabetes and about your body, and then choosing nutrient-dense foods to support your body to function at its best. These are all underlying principles of intuitive eating that we regularly discuss, just in a slightly different way and wording. Our guidelines help our members, develop a long-term sustainable way of eating. That's what this is all about. But to get our heads around this practically, first let's turn to looking at hunger and fullness. For many of us, years of dieting have disconnected us from true hunger and fullness cues that our body gives us. And we eat mindlessly, on autopilot, without much thought to it at all. With intuitive eating, we begin to rebuild trust in our senses. It's about using mindfulness to help us slow down, reconnect, and tune into what our body and mind truly need. Through simple daily practices, you can begin to observe your patterns without judgment. Instead of just being on autopilot, begin to notice things like when and why you reach for snacks, how you feel before and after meals, and emotional triggers that drive certain food choices. Once we become aware of our habits and triggers, it's easier to start making intentional choices that align with our goals and with our intentions. So let's use an example with hunger. There are times in the day that many of us eat and we're not really hungry. Think mindless snacking, caving into that sweet craving, or having sweets after dinner just because that's what you've always done. These might be examples when we eat, but we're not really hungry. To bring mindfulness to these situations, pause for a moment and ask, is my stomach physically empty? Am I feeling low energy, irritable, or lightheaded? Am I craving food for emotional reasons rather than physical hunger. It's often through just taking that moment, being mindful, that we can start tuning into our bodies more and respecting our bodies enough to support them with what they need. And when you eat according to real hunger and choose nutrient-rich foods that support your body, overeating tends to decrease naturally and you develop a healthier relationship with food. Let's use another example where one might focus on counting macros, carbs, or calories. And for those currently in our 4-week weight loss kickstart program, you've got a food list and a nutrition plan and really clear guidelines to follow. So instead of counting anything, all you have to do is apply and follow those guidelines as closely as you possibly can, building on it every day. If you fall off the wagon or slip toward a sweet snack, start paying attention to how that makes you feel, not just emotionally, as you may feel guilt, but also how the foods make you feel, how your post-meal energy levels are. Do you feel energetic or sluggish? Does your food choice spike your blood sugar? Was it actually a satisfying meal that kept you fuller longer? Back in episode 61, Lisa shared her journey to reversing prediabetes, and many things she shared were a great example of this. Although she admitted she loved pizza, pasta, and ice cream, after committing to her new eating plan, she shared how she started noticing these foods she thought she loved didn't make her feel good, and she could tell that they affected her gut health negatively. So she didn't want to feel that way anymore and kept to her new healthy eating routine. As you keep choosing nutrient-dense foods, your hunger will naturally regulate, and by using intuitive eating, you become more aware and in tune with your body's needs. Now, one important thing I do want to add here is that when you first start a new eating plan, you might feel like you're hungry all the time, and that's normal. And during that transition phase, it's best to honour those feelings as your body adjusts and choose a snack or another meal within the guidelines just to satisfy that hunger. As time passes and your body adjusts to your new way of eating, everything balances out and so does your hunger. But during this transition phase, you can use intuitive eating to help you navigate how you and your body are feeling. The thing is, for most of us, eating isn't just about hunger. It's often tied to stress, emotions, and habits. So we need to learn to tune into our emotional and habitual eating so that we can work on changing this for our own benefit. So a few more tips to tune into this are to pause before reaching for food. If you're craving something but aren't physically hungry, ask yourself what you really need. A walk, a break, a deep breath. It could be anything. Start to create small new habits. If you're always reaching for food at certain times, like late at night, swap it with a different activity, like having an herbal tea, journaling or stretching, or just taking rest. Importantly, don't punish yourself for emotional eating or stress eating if it happens. Just observe it, learn from it, and move on, because here's one of the most important things. Consistency is more important than perfection. It's time to ditch the all or nothing mentality. When we slip up, we feel like we've failed, and that can make us go off track completely. Intuitive eating removes this pressure. While there are foods that you can choose to optimize blood sugar levels and your health and promote weight loss, really there are no inherently bad foods. It's about balance. If you eat something higher in carbs, or a piece of chocolate, or have a piece of cake at a celebration, don't feel guilty about it. Enjoy that moment, savor the chocolate or that cake or meal, and then go back to your healthy eating routine. One less than ideal meal or one less than ideal snack, it doesn't derail your health journey. It's the long-term eating patterns that matter. So again, ditch the all or nothing mentality. That often leads to failure. the fact of the matter is you can eat whatever food you want anytime you want, but you're choosing not to because you're choosing foods to optimize your blood sugar, weight, and health. When you do choose to indulge, enjoy it. Then go back to honoring your body by choosing your healthy eating routine. This mindset shift is so powerful, not just for blood sugar and weight loss, but also for reducing the pressure on yourself and improving stress and mental and emotional health. So it just has so many benefits. If you're in our 4-week weight loss kickstart, I encourage you to apply these principles. Reflect on how different foods make you feel. Practice mindfulness with your eating and use the members chat forum for support and accountability. We're there every single day. So check in with us every single day and get that high level of support. And if you're not in the program, you can still start practicing intuitive eating today by applying many of the strategies we've spoken about today. It really is just a way to begin to tune into yourself and your body, to honor yourself and your body, and learn how foods can support you on every single level instead of obsessing and fixating over counting, about having all of this food preoccupation, whatever those negatives that many years and years of dieting have all instilled upon us. So give it a try yourself. Start small and keep moving forward. That's all from me today. Take care of yourself and keep making progress one step at a time. Dr. Jetta, over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to Type 2 Diabetes Talk. Please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. And for episode replays, episode notes, and more, visit type2diabetestalk.com. New episodes are available Tuesdays, 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, or your time zone equivalent. Thanks again. We're truly grateful to be a part of your life and help make a real difference.